Aha. Oh, got one person. All right. I got some music. Hello, get in here. Hopefully things are looking good. This is gonna be fun. There's your comments. Hey. Hello, Fly Cam. Got a few people in here. All right. Another semi-impromptu live show. Hey, Joe's man. Huh. All right, hello, folks. Happy Sunday. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Yes, they are. Let me know if my audio or video has any problems. Should be. I think my internet's been stable, so shouldn't have any problems this time. Hopefully the audio is good. Shut that off. Give me a second to get my act together here. Looks laser cut. Yes, it's laser cut. All right, so give it another couple of minutes for people to get in. Hopefully everybody's had a nice weekend. It's always all over too quickly. Way too quickly. Let's see. Hopefully this can be seen. I think so. I can zoom in a little bit. Yeah, maybe just a touch. I think that looks good. All right. So maybe some of you remember the last live stream I had. I've been working on a kit. As Flycam says, yes, this is a laser cut kit. This is the, oh, shoot, I forgot the name. Give me a second to remember. I am so terrible with names. I've got a brain defect. Tony Ray, I think. Yes, Tony Ray, Tiger Moth, that's it. There is a box here, let me show you the box. All right. I am working on a Tony Ray DH82 Tiger Moth, 60-inch wing span biplane. Really neat. It's been a while since I built a kit, so I've been working on this on and off, and I'm at the point where I'm ready to cover, or at least some of the pieces. So I figured, well, I'll start covering it, and maybe do a live stream. You look over my shoulder while I'm covering this, because this is going to be interesting. Maybe. Hopefully it's not going to be interesting. I don't want it to be interesting, but I'm be doing something new with this a little bit in my modeling hobby career. So this is maybe somebody might find interesting in covering. I know some people are not a fan of covering models. They maybe like to build, not to cover, but I really don't mind covering that much. Maybe because I've actually gotten relatively decent at it. When I first started covering models, it looked like, it looked like I barely knew what I was doing. I wish I still had one of my older kits that I built, because the covering was really bad. It was workable, but it was great. But practice makes better, and so I've been practicing over quite a few years and reading techniques and stuff, and so I think I've gotten it relatively good enough to be a decent covering. I've got a few planes hanging up that look good. So I thought maybe some people would like to see me cover this as sort of something. I'll be in the workshop anyways. Instead of talking to myself, I can talk to you guys like I'm talking to myself or something. So anyways, I want to go get started. So I'm going to start on a wing. This is one of the upper wings. I'm going to start with a simple structure. There's no ailerons in here. Well, relatively simple. I want to start with something fairly large, but simple, because I only have one roll of covering, and the covering I'll be using is Oratex. And I've actually never used Oratex before. This stuff is made in Deutschland, made in Germany, and it is a fabric iron-on covering. I don't know, you probably can't really see it very well, but it is a fabric, and I've never used a fabric covering before. But for this type of plane, I thought it'd be really cool to cover it in fabric. So this is I think is a low temp fabric covering. I really haven't even read the instructions. Tools you'll need, hot melt adhesive. Wait, what? I thought this was iron-on. This might be a really short live stream if it needs adhesive. I thought this had self-adhesive. Correct me in the chat if it doesn't. No, I think that's adhesive. Why didn't it? Hot melt adhesive, non-shrinking, heat-resistant, degreaser, heat gun. We'll give it a shot. I was for sure that this has built-in adhesive. Let's take a look at it. This stuff is really interesting. Supposedly it can be painted. Let's see. Do something. Cambered upper wings. Wow, it's got a huge list of instructions. Got a lot of German. Very thorough. Surface prep, setting the sealing iron. So it uses a sealing iron. I don't know what they're talking about. Covering, sheet surfaces, over structure, application over framework, oversized. Next step, bond Oratex and bottom of the wing, main spar, hold the heat. So I'm not going to bore you with instructions. I'm pretty sure this has adhesive. We'll give it a shot, see what it does. So anyways, I was saying that I wanted to start with the larger structures first. Oh, that's not long enough. I want to try, I only have one roll. This stuff is not cheap, so I only got one roll, although it's a big roll. It's more material than a typical roll of fabric, typical roll of iron-on covering. So I'm going to try to be as efficient as I can on covering it. So I'm looking at the width of the roll, and so the width of the roll can easily do 2 sheets for a wing, so that's good, and with a little bit of extra space to spare, so I can do this side, and I still have half that I can do the bottom of the wing, or vice versa. So that's good. So hopefully, being very careful in how I cut this, I can cover the whole plane with only one roll. I think it was 5 meters or something like that. It's pretty good side. I don't know if it says on here or not. Solar text, something, tools you'll need. Well, I don't see it on here, but anyways, it was on the, when I ordered it, I noticed it was quite a bit more than your typical roll of, say, Ultra Coat or something like that. So anyways, the only thing is that I actually wanted silver, and they were out of silver, so I got gray. And I figured, well, I'll get the gray, and I can always paint it silver if I wanted to, or leave it gray, either way. So, I'm gonna go get some of the tools here. I'll check the chat, see if there's anything I'm missing. I see a few people in there. Some familiar names. Let's see, was it the home built a bunch of weeks ago? Yes. Hey, Tony. How you doing, Tony? I've been really enjoying the pictures you've been taking. Reason one code hanger and I just answered that question. I'm not sure they still make fabricate. I don't know. I'm not even familiar with that. They used to make Oracoat. Could be an updated version. Yeah, I know Oracoat, but either it's not available anymore or it changed into this stuff. Somebody else had something. Somebody asked me, Denny Murphy, 94940. Good afternoon, wherever you're at. Oh, English major, huh? I am in Texas. All right, so I think I've caught up for most of the chat there. All right, so without any further ado, let's get this show rolling. So I'm going to be using my Hanger 9. I got a new, I kind of wore out my other iron, and so at one point, Horizon was having a sale on irons, and they had this nice, cool, snazzy digital iron on sale. I said, oh yeah, I gotta get me one of those. So I got a fancy digital iron, And so I'm going to plug this in, get it all heated up. You notice I have a little sock on here. I found a trick. I don't know where I learned it from, but it covers better. It leaves less marks when you have a sock. And so I use baby socks. These are for baby toddlers or infants, I guess. And it makes a nice little thing to sort of, scratch up the iron, scratch up the covering, although this is probably a little better since it's fabric versus the other stuff. So let me plug this in and try to remember how to turn it on. I've got, plug there's something plugged in, hopefully it's not important. All right, well, okay, so it says off. And on, there we go, on. I think it's already preset. It says 33 degrees Celsius. I wish it did Fahrenheit. Maybe it does. I don't know how to switch it, so we just have to do the Celsius thing. Okay, so it's heating up. We'll see how hot it gets. I've got a stand here, so I'll stick it over here. Well, it's heating up. Let it sit there for a minute, which is good. So while I do that, I want to unravel this. This is some Vortex. So this is very experimental. I've never used this stuff before. I don't know how well it shrinks. I don't know how well it sticks. So I'm just gonna try it, see what it does. And if I fall on my face, it will be live here. No guts, no glory, no pain, no gain. Or something like that. Really can't say that I have much for guts, but that's just me. Any issues that you can't see well what I'm doing, let me know. I can adjust the camera. I've got lights here, back and forth. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is, when I cover wings, I like to cover the bottom first and then the top. And that lets me overlap the leading edge over to the bottom a little bit. And that's a better seal than if you do the bottom first, the top first, then you got to overlap the bottom over the top, and it's easier to see the line where you cut it, and it's not a bad thing to do, but I prefer to do the bottom first. I think it looks better at cosmetically. I don't know if there's any. If you do the top first and at the bottom, yeah, and you're more likely to have it separate if you do the top first because of the airstream. So anyways, enough of that. So what you didn't see is I did a whole bunch of sanding on this. So I had to sand the leading edge to make it round, sand the different ribs, sand pieces here and stuff. And so when I do the build video, the actual produced video, you'll see some of the sanding I've done. But I've done all that work already, and so I thought, well, if there's no more excuses, I can't find any other excuse not to cover this wing. I checked all the glue joints, so I went back and re-glued stuff, or solidified. I think it's all good. No more excuses. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut out a section to put on. So always when you do this, always remember which is top and bottom, because you want to simulate that before you cut it out. So since I'm doing the bottom of the wing first and the top of the wing is facing up, the covering I'm going to face down and unroll it. And basically, well, what I usually do is just, try it this way. Roll that out a little bit. Stick that on here, like that. And reposition the camera a little bit. Bring it up, maybe zoom it out just a touch. All right, so I am going to basically just place it down like that. Leave a little for overlap and the trimming for there. Maybe I'll leave a little bit there. And grab a straight edge there and grab a knife there. And so About an inch or so is good for overlap, I think. Not really that much. I want to go maybe 3/4 of an inch. I want to be efficient, but I also need to leave space for trimming and that kind of stuff. I think that'll work. I know, I'm thinking about it too hard, but for the first cut, yeah, I think that'll work. All right, and what I do is just give it a good slice. All right, that's a good cut. And turn it around. Well, maybe just go over there. Oh, there goes the light. The light here is really top heavy. Just look at it wrong and it falls over. All right, and I get a cut here. All right, there it is. Stick over there, roll this up. All right, put it there. Covering is neat. You can find stuff online about how to cover. There used to be books. I think Higley had one about covering. All right, so once I got the sheet cut, I can peel off the backing. This is some non-stick backing. Don't need that anymore. Got a fan running, so hopefully it doesn't blow it all over the place. Yeah. All right. So now flip this over to the bottom. Put this over on the bottom like that. So the only thing that's going to be a little tricky. Oh, before I start, I almost forgot. So there's a couple of things that are sticking out. I don't know if I can see it, if you can see it very well. There's a metal tab here, and there's another double metal tab here. This is going to be kind of a pain because it's going to have to stick through the covering. These are some attachment points for the struts and some other stuff. And there's some screws that are bolted on. So before I cover that, I almost forgot. I meant to double check that all these screws are tightened. So there's a couple of screws here. I'm just gonna, because once I cover, can't really get to them. So tighten that, and tighten that up a bit. Pliers, there we go. This is a very interesting way this is designed. So just making sure these screws are tightened, and yes they are. Looks like I had a glue joint that came off. I did. So I'm gonna squirt some CA in here for a piece. I think after I sanded it, it got a little loose. There we go. Okay, I got one more thing. I got some thread lock. For the nuts, just to make sure they don't come loose. That would be very bad. Here and there, here you are. There's the job up. It's not open? Because it's not. Sorry, first time using the bottle. It's not open. Alright. Alright, so I'm just going to put a drop of thread lock on these bolts. Because once I close this up, it's going to be a pain to get back in there. Okay, where was I? I was going to start covering this. All right. So, sticky side up, wings over. Flip it over to the other side. So this is gonna be fun. I'm gonna check the alignment. This I trimmed a little close. I'm gonna make sure I got some space here. So, first thing I'm gonna do, make sure it's enough, is this is hot. I'm just gonna tack a corner. Let's see if that sticks. And it does. Okay, so there is a heat adhesive. I don't know why they were asking about some sort of weird adhesive. All right, so one of the key things of covering is try to get it relatively tight as you're sticking it down. So I'm going to check the alignment here, more or less. So they just stuck a corner down. So I am going to pull on the ends, and just kind of spot tack on one end. I like to spot tack too because it lets me unspot tack it if I screw something up. So I'm going to pull on this side too, do another spot tack. So far stuff is sticking pretty good. All right, the temperatures are right. 165 degrees Celsius. Oops, I'm stepping on a cord. I don't know if you can see that or not. So, looks like that's a good temperature. Well, the temperature can be fooled because they may say use this temperature, but with the sock on, you got to go hotter. So, I don't know if they said or not. So, I've got 3 corners tacked. Now I got to do the 4th one, but again, that is going to be a little tricky because I've got I'll zoom in here. You can see we've got these 2 things sticking up, and so what I'm going to have to do is if I pull it over, I can kind of, I'm probably going to have to cut a slot for them. This is a little weird. I hope this works. So I'm just going to pull and do that, and hopefully that works well enough for me to do it. So I'll do that. I'm sorry. Let me zoom out a little bit. There we go. And I've had a knife here somewhere. Where'd it go? Over there for some reason. All right. So pull. This better work. So I can see just a couple little bumps. Just take the knife. Let's start with a couple small slits, see if that works. There we go. There we go. I can always make the holes bigger. So there's coming up in the, let me zoom in. A couple of slits here. Unfortunately, these are not something I can put in after. I really would have liked the design where you can put these little metal things in after. So hopefully when I go to shrink the material, it's not too much of a problem. Whoops, sorry, I keep getting off the camera. So I'm going to do the same thing here. There's another slit. There we go. And that pops through. That went really well. That should be good. So there we go. We got that. We got that. So now I can pull this here, relatively taut. So I'm going to pull this here and seal it. Same thing over here. All right. So now I got the 4 corners relatively taut, and then what I'll start doing is working my way out from the center as well, and pulling that, and hopefully that'll come out good. So let me, oh, you can't really see that. Let me zoom back out. So So here's the centerpiece is. And this is like the way I like to do it. It's not the only way. There's more than one way to skin a cat, but pulling this just a little bit, tacking it. I think I tacked it. Again, then pulling this a little bit in the center, tacking it. And so, kind of gives me an idea how it looks. Doesn't look like there's any major wrinkles or oddballities. That's not even a word. Oddballities. Things that are strange. So I'll start pulling off this corner here a little bit. And also pulling helps you prevent wrinkles from appearing. So I want to do the tips here. Alright, so the tip is mostly done. Got to do the same thing here. I'll pull on this tip. Because I'm also being careful because I don't know how much fabric will shrink. I've never used it before, so I'm being very conservative. I mean, it's a good technique whether it's a fabric or not, I think. So, alright. So, again, I'm just going to pull, not really heavily, but I'm just going to pull a little bit. Get that tacked. And then, like I said, I'm going to start working my way down the line of the wing. This is still kind of a tack, but at least it's starting to seal. And of course the edges, we're going to have to do some special stuff, but if I start with, hard to do with one hand, I need a third hand. So I'm sort of on the corners here, I'm pulling and sealing at the same time. Because otherwise you're going to start getting a little bit of wrinkles, but if you pull and seal, you can do it without getting a whole lot of wrinkles, at least at the start. So I'm going to come on the other side here and start tacking. This is the leading edge. So far though, I think I quite like this stuff. I'll get a sock here. Probably should put a rubber band or something around it. I've always wanted to try fabric covering. Never really had a chance or the gumption. Some of the older stuff needed a special adhesive that you had to paint on the airframe. And yeah, I wasn't a fan of that. I actually did that with a different type of adhesive, different type of covering. And once was enough. No, technically I did it twice. And because I'm a glutton for punishment. Twice was enough. But fortunately now that we're in the 21st century, you don't have to do that anymore. Unless you really want to. Although I will do it if I ever do what they call a free flight model with dope and fabric. That's a different story. That wouldn't mind doing again. But those are much smaller models. So again, a little bit of pulling, a little bit of tacking, a little bit of pulling, tacking. If you do it just right, you can get a pretty good contour surface without getting any wrinkles on it. I've had models I had to do a lot of pulling and stuff like that. Not quite sure how. You can pull it a little bit. It's a little bit stretchy. Then I'll start with this last section here. Sock is coming off. Oops, gotta make sure I pull. It's getting a little loose there. Pull and heat, pull and heat. Oops. Didn't quite pull enough on that one. Did it come off? Yeah, it did. Okay. So that's a nice thing about these low heat coverings. This is nice. I can actually pull it off a little bit if I make a minor boo-boo, pull it off and then reseal it with heat again. Sometimes you use the heat too to pull it off. Heat it up and pull, and you can pull it off the wood structure. So pretty much the entire perimeter has been sealed. For the most part, I might have missed some very minor sections. The nice thing is I don't have to pull anything anymore. I can just tap it, heat it. Sometimes, not so much for open structures, but for closed structures, what I'll do is, as I heat, if this was closed structure, or solid wood, sort of, I would get another one of these baby socks on my hand, and I would heat it and then rub it flat with my hand with a baby sock on it. It helps seal the covering better. But open structures don't really need to do that so much. So I'm just double checking some sections. So this one I got a little bit, maybe it didn't look like I didn't pull it enough. Let me pull it, lift it up and pull it a little bit. And retack it. It wasn't bad, I'm just being OCD, anal retentive, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so looking at this, it's pretty much the whole perimeter is pulled. This looks like it came out pretty good. Not sure. I may have to, these little things that's sticking up, I'm going to slice just a little more on the leading edge of this metal thing. There we go. It wasn't quite laying flat. So I'm going to seal that right there. I have to look at the other wing to see how much wood is around this piece. The only thing I'm a little bit worried is when I use a heat gun that this doesn't peel away and open up more. So I'm going to make sure, as you can see here, just tacking down around the perimeter, whatever wood that's around there, I'm going to use that to help seal it so it doesn't pull away. So yeah, fortunately there's some wood around the perimeter here so that the covering can adhere to. So that's good. I'm feeling better. I can sleep tonight. And maybe the same thing around this one too here. Just to double check that there's a little bit of wood to tack down to. I'm going to have to press and hold a little bit because that's not much real estate on the iron and wood. So I think that's good. Whoops. That's a little hole. So now I don't know if you can see, but this came out really pretty good, and it's relatively taut, which is what I want. I want the shrinking to, of course, shrink it, but not do a whole lot of shrinking. Because A, I don't know how much it'll shrink, but B, this is just a good idea, just in case, to prevent warping and some other stuff. So I think that's pretty good. So now the next step would be, of course, to wrap everything over the edges a little more. So I'm just going to tap up. Got a little bit loose here, but it's no big deal. I can heat that up. So with that done, look at that. I am going to start working my way around the edges more to overlap them a bit, and then I'll trim everything. So that is start. Holding it up, let me pull the camera back a little more. So again, I don't have to really do any pulling anymore. It's already pulled tight, so I'm just gonna heat things to overlap. I'm starting with the easy parts first, the straight pieces. Arg. That came off. Baby socks look nice, but sometimes they just slide right off with these certain things. Same thing with leading edge. I don't have to overlap it too much, but just get it a good over. Oops. And I got to be careful how I hold this, because building this thing, I kept breaking the ribs because I gorilla hand it. I'm holding it, and then it snapped. I was like, ah, son of a. All right, so that's good. Those overlaps. So now the fun part, doing the corners. Shouldn't be too bad. So like I said before, now this is where I'm gonna start pulling again, just so I can overlap, not the full 180 degrees, but maybe a good 100, 120 degrees on the edges here. Just enough overlap so I can trim it. And so just pull, heat, and if you do it well enough, you won't get any wrinkles, or any wrinkles that matter. So there, there, there. Careful how I hold it so I don't snap a rib. You hear somebody's about to donate on a motorcycle outside. Okay, as they're rolling around. That was relatively flat, but now I got another corner piece. Pull. Sometimes it's good to pull, heat, keep holding it for a second while it cools down. Otherwise it might kind of unglue itself. But it's not hard. You can see this is really going pretty quickly. I'm not doing anything magical. I'm just pulling and heating. And that's the key. And I had to learn that too. It's like, how did some people do such a great job? And it's pulling and heating, pulling and heating. But look at that. This is good. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but this is exactly what I wanted. This is right now is ready to be trimmed. There's no wrinkles on the parts that's touching. You got these wrinkles up here are going to all get trimmed away. So I am looking good. And it's overlapping slightly. I don't know if you can see on the camera. So the point was sort of a cup overlap. I don't want it like this, and I don't want it 90. I want a little bit of a cup so that there's some meat on the top side to hold, and it easily overlaps. And that's how it is. And it kind of does it naturally as you heat it up. Okay. I think this was done already. Oh, there it is, this part. So another piece that is also circuformed. This one I'll pull. I'm gonna start kind of in the middle-ish and work my way out. See all the fun you're missing with ARFs? Now, the funny thing is, with ARFs, there's somebody in the factory doing just this. That's their job. If you saw my video, I saw that at the Seagull Models factory. They had a bunch of ladies in a really nice air-conditioned room covering models with the thing. There we go. So again, I'm trying to pull and wrap it around the top a little bit. Pull. I don't know if you can see that, but as I pull, the wrinkles kind of disappear. I can heat it up, let it cool for a second, take the next one. So you can see some wrinkles, maybe. I can pull, they're gone, heat it up, let it cool for a second. There you go. There's a spot that may not have sanded it the best, but it's all right. All right, I think that's pretty good. There's a little spot here. There's some extra thick balsa wood here, so that's why I'm kind of, oops, doing that. All right, so that looks the part. So I've got a section here on the root of the wing that I'm going to have to pull up and cover. So what I'll probably do is take my knife, which keeps disappearing, and cut. I'm going to cut this straight up. I might have to get a new blade. I thought this was sharper. Since this is a corner, it's going to overlap, so I can do this and then do that. I don't know if you see that. So there's the pieces that I can overlap now. And so I can hit this piece first. And then I can overlap this piece. I'm going to have to do the same. I'm going to use a scissors this time. Same thing for the, I'm going to have to clean these. So I can trim, since this is an overlap here, I'm going to trim these right there. And so now I have this piece that I can overlap. And again, I got this tongue sticking out, so what I'm going to do is hit it like kind of like this for a second. See if I can get that tongue right underneath the tongue. I'm sorry if I went off camera. And then I'm going to trim around this tongue. And there we go. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to put a little piece over here on the top. But, oh, well, you're not going to see it anyways because this butts against a centerpiece. So this is all hidden. So I'm not going to worry too much about how this looks, other than just to get it on there. Because it will be hidden unless I take the wings off. Ah, silly sock. To the point where, so I got a minor wrinkle there, but again, it's a hidden piece that nobody's going to see. I'm not going to care. I can get most of the wrinkle out anyways. Look at that. And there's a little piece of leading edge. All right. So that's good. I think I'll take it. All right, so that, oops, that, and I've got I kind of waffle. Sometimes I'll use an X-Acto knife, hobby knife, and sometimes I'll use straight blades. I tend to like to use the single edge blades when I do the trimming for the most part. I can get a nice, good, consistent angle. And so now I'm just going to start trimming away. Let's see. Where do I want to start? Look at my sea legs here. So I'm going to start with here to see how well. There we go. All right, so I can just come down here, kind of at an angle. If you can see that, stick that in there. Once you start it, and you just let it slide. Up. Don't worry too much about this one because it's going to be overlapped, so it's going to be a little bit slightly rough. When I do the top, I may use a straight edge to keep it. There we go. Might use the X-Acto knife on the corners. I think that's what it was. Yeah, where's my knife? Scissors. Ooh, strong stuff. And there's an X-Acto knife. It's funny how when you trim the covering, it actually will dull the knife relatively quickly. So I got some extra ones. I'm sort of waffling a little bit where I want to do the covering, the cutting. So yeah, in fact, I'm going to change this blade out for a brand new one. And use the X-Acto knife to do the contoured curves. If you can double check the camera can see it. So just sort of poke through, and just slide it through. With a nice new blade, it does really good. We just come right around, hold it. There we go. Come on, baby. Yeah. Maybe we should do it from the bottom. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, it worked a little better. Do it from the bottom, not from the top. And I could just continue down the line. Ah, mostly. It's okay, not a big deal. There we go. And oh, one more niblet here. The X-Acto knife is a little easier for the compound curves. All right, so that's trimmed away. This one last step is to just seal up the pieces that I trimmed. So just kind of wrap the iron around. $165. Same thing for the wing tips. It's always a little bit that sticks up. For the final seal. There we go. I think that's good. I get this. All right, so the bottom is done and sealed. Did I get this good? There we go. Just one last right up the leading edge. All right. All right, so the bottom is sealed. Got a nice, relatively taut. And we're pretty good. Now the bottom is a little easier than the top because the bottom is basically flat. But I'm going to use the same technique for the top as well. The only thing is, I'm going to say, there's nothing that sticks up out of the top, which is good. But I just thought of something unusual this plan. I'm going to tack. There's a wing mounting point. I'm going to tack down. I'm thinking ahead here a little bit, so stay with me. All right, so there's a hard point, for lack of a better term. There's two hard points. Right here for a wing attachment. And the reason why I'm tacking it down is because there's holes that I'll be using to screw things through. And I'm thinking maybe I will poke some holes, pinholes. Yeah, just a couple of pinholes. The reason I'm doing the pinholes is so I have little screw, because the pieces screw into the wing through these holes. There's a mounting plate, and there's struts like these with some plates, and they will mount to the wing. Actually, more like that. And now I have locator holes after I've covered it, so I know where to put the screws in. There's also some on the leading edge. It may not be quite as easy to find. So I'm just saving myself from issues later on. So I'll do the same thing here. Sealing the iron. This is sort of a weird spot, but and then I can poke through. This is a nuance of this particular model. This is not something I normally do, but now I have some locator holes sticking through here for the screws. There we go. So, good thing I remember that. That should save me some trouble later on. Okie doke. Now we'll start with the top. All right, let me check the chat real quick before I start. Ooh. All right, somebody's asking about Tony. So yes, Donnie, I was thinking of balsa right. That's exactly what I was thinking of earlier. Stop plate product, adhesion to Monaco. It's been 20 years that you cover an airplane. Yeah, you don't normally need it, but there was, I think balsa right was needed with certain covering material that did not have the heat adhesive on the cover, back of the covering. So you needed balsa right, otherwise it wouldn't stick at all. That's where a trim iron comes in handy. Yeah, I actually have a trim iron. I'm too lazy to go get it. I'll get it if I need it, but I can usually do without it if I can, because I don't want to go have another thing, hot thing hanging around to get in the way with my luck. Don't get the tech covering on the ribs. Yeah, on the bottom, I'm not too worried about tacking on the ribs. I can, shouldn't really need to do it unless it's on the perimeter. Certainly can do that. I've had to do that with undercambered wing. You can use the iron sheet cover with the wrinkles and warping the wing. Let's see, very cool video. Yeah, thanks, Merle. Probably see you next weekend, maybe. You guys having a swap meet at your club? Somebody's asking about posting as a video. Well, this will live in the live section, so I'm not going to delete it. So you come back, look in the live, go to the channel, look in the videos, and look under the live tab. For the end strut, do you iron the ribs? Yeah, we were just talking about that. You can, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm probably just going to be lazy and not do it. But like I said, I've had to do it in certain models simply because of the way the wing was structured. I don't learn to do this, no patience. You make the patience. It's not too bad. Just do it. Now, I recommend starting with a simpler wing. This is a more complicated structure. This whole plane's a little more complicated. You can start with a plane that's very simple. In fact, here is, I just happen to have it. Usually it's just hanging up. I got lucky. So here is, you probably saw, I did a video on this years ago. This is my QT. I had it down to tinker with it. And the wing is very simple. It's just straight. There's no compound curves or anything. It's just flat board. There's a little bit in the middle here, but it's not a big deal. This one I made my life easy. I wanted the red stripes. And so I didn't just do white and then put red over it. I did white up to this rib, then red between these two ribs, and then another white strip here. So there's actually a break in the white, but the break is at the ribs. So here is a case where I did tack to the ribs because I had to, in order to keep the coverings connected and down. So I don't think I did all the ribs, but these ribs here where the color demarcation are indeed tacked down and heated with the heat. And the fuselage is also very simple. It's just flat-sided fuselage, a little bit of a turtle deck here, but it's actually faceted turtle deck, and just straight tail. And I did the same thing. The color separation here is just only red here and only white here, and right on this stringer is where it's tacked down for the color separation. Same thing here. It just makes life easier. I wanted some color, but I didn't want to get too fancy. So a lot of times, when I do the models, I'll think ahead, say, how do I want to cover this thing at the least hassle, instead of doing anything fancy. Oh, excuse me. But for sport planes, you can get away with that. If you're doing something scale, it may not be so easy. So unless you do what I did, in that case, I'm actually planning on the paint scheme for this de Havilland is also relatively easy to do. I picked a paint scheme that it's not really complicated. I know I'm kind of cheating. Some people do some really fancy stuff, but I just picked a paint scheme that was easy for me to cover. I may have to do a little bit of painting and I can do the color separations with covering if I need to and that kind of stuff. So anyways, let's go see if we can get the top tackled, and maybe I can call myself accomplishing something this weekend. Yesterday, I was out all day at a plastic model show. What? Another one? I gotta stop these alarms. So I was at a place called the Winter Blitz. So I will have a video of that very shortly. With any luck, it'll be out tomorrow. Because it's mainly a slideshow, so it's easy to do. So plastic models, but the Winter Blitz is interesting because it focuses on military, primarily ground vehicles. So your tanks, your towed artillery, self-propelled artillery, half tracks, armored cars, that kind of stuff. But they've been doing it for about 4 years, 5 years. It's gotten really pretty popular. It's an unusual event in that it's held at a museum, a place called the Museum of the American GI, which is a really cool place, notable for having military vehicles that actually run. So they have a bunch of tanks and armored vehicles and stuff that run. They drive them around. They frequently have like a bit of an open house, and on occasion they let you buy rides and even drive them. It's a really cool place. And they got uniforms and costumes and all kinds of paraphernalia from the military. And this year they expanded the classes a little bit. They actually had a class for aircraft, but only special type of P-47 that was used as a tank buster. So not just all aircraft, just specific tank buster aircraft, and a sci-fi section for mech suits, which was cool too, because I like sci-fi stuff. So power suits, that kind of stuff, ground power suits. I'm thinking I might have enough space on this sheet. I have an aileron. I have ailerons. And so I'm looking to see if there's room as well, if I cut it close enough to sheet an aileron, and I think so. Yeah, I think so, because this wraps up. So this is a good thing to do while you're covering, is to think, what else pieces to save on covering. So I hate to throw that away, so I could at least get a couple of ailerons in there as well. So let me get an idea. That should be enough. That's plenty enough. Yeah. Ah! Okay. So unfortunately, that's another one of my hobbies, is plastic models. I can't quit them. I don't have as much time as I used to build them, but I really do like them, and I keep getting more. So there we go. There's a piece for the aileron. There's going to be 2 pieces, so careful. In fact, what I could probably do is just measure that. I guess I can do that later. Measure that. So I need to do 2 more wings. A bunch of more wings. I hope this is enough. Well, I can always order more if it's not enough, but I'm trying to avoid it. because they are proud of this covering. Maybe it's the euro conversion is not so great. All right, so there we go. So I've got a little slice here, and it should be good enough to do one aileron. I think so. Look at that. All right, deja vu all over again. So, backing off. This on. Oh, I forgot there's a curvature, so hopefully I didn't trim it too short. Yeah, I forgot there's usually the top cut a little longer, a little wider because of the curvature, but there's enough space. I got it. I got this. I got that really good. So what I'll do is start with just making sure it's lined up and I got enough overlap. Let's try this. I'm going to do one tack. Hope this is not enough. There we go. Again, if you're just joining me, covering up the Tony Ray Models de Havilland Tiger Moth biplane, and we're using some Vortex, right? I lost the manual, here it is. Who's Vortex? Yes, Vortex. Vortex fabric covering. And covering is not hard. It's like I said before, I tack, corner, I do a little bit of pull. I can actually pull, I might actually pull, trying to get it so it looks good. In fact, what I'll do is probably, if we were talking about tacking the ribs, I think I'm going to tack it on this rib actually here before it. You got one rib and then it sort of tapers down. So I'm going to do that on the rib. I think that'll be easier on that. So pull, tack, pull, tack. And then this here, I'm going to pull here. Tack it down best I can. There we go. I think that's good. I think that'll work. Should I do the middle first? Let's tack it in the middle. Oops. It's starting to get slippery. There we go. I'll pull this, tack it, and there's one spot that was not quite tacked here in the middle. All right. So pull this a little bit, get it a little bit taut. All right, I think that's looking pretty good. Doesn't look like I've buggered anything too bad, or at all. Whoops. Yeah. So the mini tack. Pull this. Not a heavy pull, just to make sure it keeps taut. Kind of work my way around, give it some. Trying not to do all of one side at a time. I sort of work my way in spots to make sure that not involving any wrinkles or whatnot. I think that's just working pretty good. Wrinkles or folds, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, I think that'll work. All right, I'll pull this a little bit. Can you imagine before we had iron-on covering? For those of you old enough to remember, or have nightmares about the old silk span, if I remember correctly, which was basically dope. And so you had to use these wonderful chemicals that make the walls move and make you feel really nice. I tried that once when I was a teenager living at home and almost got kicked out of the house by my mother. She was like, "What the hell is that smell?" I was like in the basement. I wasn't even anywhere near, but she could smell it all the way upstairs. Of course, she had a nose like a bloodhound. All right, so as you see, I'm working my way around. It's really looking pretty good. So the fun part is going to be the very wingtip. I'm sort of avoiding it at the moment because I want to make sure everything else is down tight because I'm going to be pulling, oops, a lot. So I want to make sure I got the, and I'm sorry I was just off camera. I wasn't even paying attention to the camera, seeing everything. Apologies if you can't see anything. So it's really just methodical, just kind of work your way around. A little bit at a time, don't rush it. It doesn't take long, but you just don't want to rush it. And so a lot of times, you know, covering, it's a good thing, just, you know, put on some music or a book, one of those, what do you call it, not an e-book, books you listen to, audio book, that's it. Or I actually like to listen to various things on YouTube. There's a lot of interesting things on YouTube that you can just listen to. If you want history, geopolitics, pop culture, all kinds of stuff. Just kind of there's a lot of interesting YouTubers out there. So again, here we go. You can see I've got a little bit of an overlap, which I can trim here and here. Now I didn't do this tip yet because this is going to be probably a little more difficult not to have wrinkles. So I'm going to have to be really careful how I do it. This is going to be the most interesting part here because there is several different compound curve things going on and it's going to be tricky, but I think I can do it. And this is the case where, let me move the camera down a little bit. We're really going to have to do the pull and heat on it. Zoom in just a touch. So, because as you pull, it's just, you're going to have wrinkles. You can see how I'm pulling it, no matter what I do, just some wrinkles. But all is not lost. What you can do is, I'm going to do it this way. Since I only have two hands, a third hand would really help. I want to start, probably not going to see all that well, but I'm going to start here with a tap, and I'm going to pull and heat like that. Gonna pull. I'm gonna test to see what I need to do here. I'm gonna give it a shot here. It's been a while since I've done this, so I want to do this. Tap there, and if I do it just right, I can pull out the wrinkles and heat it. So this will be pretty cool. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to kind of go in the middle there, and I'm going to work my way over here. So looking at this, it looks like you're going to get wrinkles, but I can actually kind of pull it and heat it, pull this, pull it around, and heat it, and so, and pull it again, pull out the wrinkles and heat, get it to stick there, pull out, heat it, and there, and for the most part, there are no wrinkles. I'm just going to get the bottom here a little bit-ish. I need to heat this up. Just going to pop up the temperature just a touch. Since it's such a very heating, there we go. There. So I hope you can see this. I'll zoom in. Where are we? So I was able to pull out basically any of the wrinkles. There we go. Now it's heating up again. So I'm going to go back down. I'm using the table is to hold it. There we go. Oop, not too much. Okay. Accidentally hit this with the iron. Oops. Sorry. This would a trim iron, but I guess would be a little easier. Here we go. So I'm going to pull this, heat this up, pull this and this. So you can kind of pull out the wrinkles and then heat it, and then they'll stay. There we go. That's what I want. So, same thing here. Yeah, I know the sock kind of moving around on me. There we go. And that was the hardest part. The rest of it, I should be able to work my way around. Just by pulling it. Not too hard. I don't want to hear it snap. There we go. Getting ahead of myself there. I think that's it. That is this little piece here. No, that's good. So yay! Look at that. That is good. Just get the underside here a little bit. A little extra adhesion. There you go. So you can see, there you go, how it's almost wrinkle free. Just, you know, you got a little bit here and here, but that will be taken out with the heat gun. That's nothing at all. Because mainly I didn't want folds around the creases here because of the curves, just compound curves working around here. And so by pulling and heating, I was able to do it without getting any creases and very little wrinkles. So now I can trim it all. Once I double check that the whole perimeter is done. All right, so back out here. Oops, oh, some of it covered, folded over itself. There we go. Yeah. So I can start trimming. So can you see this? I will trim. I won't rush this time. I want this to be a cleaner trim, so I'm just gonna take my time with the knife. Trim the corners here. You have to do this with a very sharp knife. There we go. I do it at a bit of an angle. I talked about earlier whether I do use the X-Acto and a straight edge. I'm using the X-Acto for the most part. Trying to think of the best angle to get in. There we go. Actually, I want a little bit of an overlap. Well, no, it's okay. It's all right. No, just do it from the top. It's quiet, too quiet. Come on, baby. All right. So for the leading edge, if you really want to be anal and careful, you can use a straight edge. So I'll often do that. I'll take a straight edge, like here. And it'll give me a nice straight edge to do the covering if I want to. If I'm really concerned about how it'll look, I can do that. I can do. Let me get a piece of tape so it doesn't move. You don't have to, but if you really want to be OCD about how the leading edge will look on the overlap aesthetically, this has nothing to do with aerodynamics or performance. It's just purely for looks. You can put a straight edge on there, take your knife, and there you go. Now you've got a pretty nice straight edge, mostly. Not perfect. It's actually still a little long. Looks like I wandered off a little bit. Yeah, I wasn't paying enough attention. Looks all right. Not my best work, but you get the idea. Yeah, it wandered off. So I'm just going to freehand it a little more. Wasn't paying enough attention. So we'll do get some weight on it so it doesn't move on me. And trim off about 1/16 of an inch. Oops. Joyce is doing stuff live. All right. But hey, still looks good though. Very good. So, and we'll just seal it with some heat. really hard to see the seam anyways, because it's overlapped, but should have just done that the first time. Really isn't that? Ah. All right. All right, finished sealing up the edges. I didn't really seal these up really yet, so. Ugh. My sock is being annoying. Okay, and I can go over and seal the ribs if I want to. I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. I haven't decided. I may do that, depending how well I feel everything fits. But I have a wing. Oh, spot I missed. Cool. All right. All right. And again, I can go over it with a trim iron if I need to. Let me trim out this last little piece of niblet there. All right, we have finished covering the wing. And that is looking really quite nice. Oops. Sorry. Oh, look at that. Look at this. So it's got the fabric covering, which is going to be awesome on this old style aircraft, which is, in real life was covered in fabric. And looks good. Edges look really good and sealed. Yeah, I'll double check. There's a couple spots where I can do a touch up. Not a problem. Wow, look at that. So that's really nice. I actually like this color. This is not silver, but it's actually not bad. Not close, not far away. It's gray. So we are looking good. I'm going to seal up this last rib a little bit. Also, I'm going to check, make sure it's not twisted or anything. So, looks good. So, all right. So I'm going to go find what I did with my heat gun. I think it's down here in the where it lives on the floor here, on the bottom rung. Hey, what you smell? Ah, I got my heat gun. Look at that. What's funny though is I have another heat gun. Is this it? Yeah, I've got this. Oops, excuse me. Is it plugged in? Oh, it's plugged in. So I actually got two heat guns. So I got my normal heat gun, and I've got this little. I got this for what do you call it? Heat shrink on wires and stuff, because it's just small, compact. But I found these work really good for shrinking wings as well and stuff. So if you don't want to mess with a big heat gun, you don't have to. You can get these. I got this off of Amazon for not much money. Mini hot air gun, 350 watts. And so it's even less power too. I think this is 900 watts versus 350 watts. And it's easy for getting into tight areas and stuff. So But anyways, it's just a FYI. All right, we're going to shrink this thing. Which is nice is, if you see, it doesn't need a whole lot of shrinking. I mean, it does need some, but it's relatively taut. And so that's that whole pull and heat gets you as you're covering it. Try to get it relatively tight as you're covering, and then you don't have to do a whole lot of heat shrinking. So let's see how this stuff shrinks. I'm gonna work my way, kind of start in the center here. Just like the shrinking, and then work my way out. I can see a little bit, I don't know if you can see, I can see it shrinking, so it doesn't take a whole lot of heat. Here's the fittings I was worried about, no problem. I can see the parts shrinking up. So the stuff shrinks pretty good. Probably hard to see in a camera, but I can see it tighten it up quite well. We'll see how well it stays tight, but at least it's tightening up. Double check it's not warping. I'll hit the edge here, you can see it tightening up. Don't linger too much in one spot, but wow, that tightened up real nice. Of course, if I do get any twist or anything, I can just reheat it and take it out. I've done that before, to put in washout or something like that. I think that's it. You hear that drum sound. It's interesting with the fabric, it's not quite as easy to see how tight, well, you can see it, it's interesting how it's more subtle. So look, nothing, the corners haven't lifted. That's why you want a good overlap on the edges so they don't lift up. Looks like I may need to, iron's off. Didn't lift, but there's a little bit of seal I need to do, reseal. That's pretty good. Oh, there's a spot here, it looks like it's not quite. There we go. We have a wing. Only 4 more to go. Well, 3 more to go. So yeah, nobody said this was fast, but this is part of the building process. It's not really the destination so much as it is the journey, right? Well, it's a destination too, but revel in the journey, a little bit of sense of accomplishment. All right, so these pinholes I can still see. These I can see a little bit. It popped off a little bit, but it's all right. The fittings I was worried about, no problem. So there we go. We've got my very first covered wing in fabric covering. Look at that. You probably can't see it very well, but you can see some of the ribs in there. So there is a case here. So we were talking about gluing to the ribs. You can see some of the ribs, some of the smaller ribs you can see, some you can't. So I may actually go and glue down, tack down to all these little sub ribs, for lack of a better term. So you see all of them, so there's consistency, because you can kind of see some and not see some others. These are kind of disappeared. I think that either when I was sanding or the thickness is just not consistent, the height. And so to make it look consistent, I probably will go at least on the first part of the leading edge and go and heat and glue down all the, it's easy to do, and then tack it down. just for looks. Strength wise, pretty good. And it's got a little bit of, well, the wings don't have a whole lot of, they've got a one spar, so they're gonna, all the strength is in the struts. This actually has load bearing struts on it, so there's no big spar that goes in the middle, it attaches, and then all, so I'm gonna have to make sure all the struts are attached really, really good, because that's where the strength is, but that's cool. All right, well, we'll bore you with another wing. I just thought you might find that interesting. We'll go check the chat, see what's going on. Oh, excuse me a sec. Let me move this. I'm gonna move the camera back. Can I move the camera back? I don't know. I don't know where the camera's going. What is this? And this. Got so many wires on the camera. No! All right. Let's see. All right. Hey, there's a few other chat pieces. Any question you got, throw them in the chat. Let's see. I personally always want to learn patience. Donnie, if you're still here, how long have you been in this hobby? Since I was a teenager, late teenager. Well, RC models, teenager. Other models, longer than that. So let's put it this way. When I first started RC models, trying to think. The first George Bush was president. That's what I'll say. George Bush Sr. But I took some breaks too. I did it for a while, then took a break. School got in the way for a bit, but not totally. And then when I finally got out and got a real job, it went hard and heavy and haven't stopped since. But thanks everybody for joining. I really appreciate it. I think I will, unless anybody got any last minute things, I think I will cut out and go maybe grab some munchies and do some other stuff. But I really appreciate everybody's attention. These lights. I got these off at Amazon. These are really, this is a newer one I got. I have an older one. They started going bad. They're okay. I don't know if you can, maybe I can show you some LED ones that I got from somewhere. I had two, one died. This one looks like it's semi-dying, but it's a little bit harsh. But this one, let me turn it around here for you. This one is nice, it's diffused. It doesn't have anything fancy, it just turns on and off. But it's got a nice diffusion thing on it. I think it came with its own light bulb or something. Yeah, it's got a replaceable light bulb, but it came with one, like an LED. But I do like them because they're nicely diffused. It's got a nice adjustable stand on it. Oops, sorry. As you can see as well. I'm probably going to get another one since this one seems to work really well for another angle. But just look up what is it? Releno off of Amazon. And they weren't expensive too, they're pretty cheap. All right, well everybody, thanks for joining me. I don't think I have anything else. I have to say tonight, I'm gonna cut out. I've been on for an hour and a half anyways. Thanks for joining me. Look out, I will have a full produced video of this plane when I get it done. And some other stuff. So thanks so much for thank you for your support, as they say. Guys, have a good night, good rest of the weekend, and have fun like me at work tomorrow. All right, guys, I will see you later. Covering the worst. Oh, we got a last minute comment here. Covering is the word. No, it's not the worst. Never. Maybe you just got burned out on it. But I understand completely. I think after you do it for a while, it's no longer all that fun. But I don't do it all that often, so it's always a semi-novelty when I actually do get around to doing it. All right, just go and fly. Thanks for your comment. See you guys later. I will go and do something useful at night. Cheers.